one. Board members are going to test our resilience this morning. All right, this is again to celebrate Child Abuse Prevention Month, excuse me. It says, whereas children deserve a safe, stable, and permanent home in order to become productive members of our society. And whereas child abuse is found in families of all social and economic classes, in every racial and ethnic group. And whereas child abuse impacts the entire community, and finding solutions depends on community involvement to nurture family growth and inspire future generations. And whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, medical communities, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas through the continued work of volunteers, parents, community partners, policymakers, and professionals, child abuse may be eradicated, giving our children a bright, successful future. And whereas all citizens should become more aware of child abuse and its prevention within the community, and become more involved in supporting of parents to raise their children in a safe, nurturing environment. And whereas the Department of Public Social Services, the District Attorney's Office, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, the Riverside County Regional Medical Center, and Prevent Child Abuse Riverside County have formed a collaborative effort to devote resources to the efforts throughout the year that focus on the prevention and response to child abuse. Now therefore be it resolved, determined, and ordered on the 10th day of April 2012 that the Riverside County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the month of April 2012 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and urge all residents to become more aware of the national, state, and county-wide issue and do what they can to prevent child abuse in our communities. Signed by all five board members. For those of you, I know many of you up here, including some of my colleagues, probably all my colleagues, have had the opportunity to accompany our Child Protective Services group when they go into these homes and take children out of their home where they see the child abuse that occurs in homes, and it's very, 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 very sad. Our children deserve so much better, but thanks to these professionals standing up here and the various agencies here within our county, we're able to help them and get them back on the right track, and at times even get their families back on the right track so they don't re-abuse. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Susan. Susan.
Members of the board, thank you for taking the time this morning to raise awareness about child abuse prevention. Child abuse and neglect continues to be a serious issue, both locally, at the state level, and nationally. Last year we had nearly 60,000 calls to our hotline, and we had nearly 45,000 children reported for abuse and neglect. Fortunately, we have a very strong network of community partners that continues to grow. And it's through those efforts that we have increasing awareness, increasing prevention and early intervention services. And with partners like we have here today, we're able to intervene earlier and where necessary, intervene with the families in a more formal way. But we continue to need to raise awareness in the community. It is important for the community as a whole to be helping us in responding to child abuse and to help families get the services they need as early as possible. And we thank you for helping us to raise awareness through this proclamation, and we'll be ever vigilant in this effort.
Good morning. Doug Bangley, Riverside County Regional Medical Center. As was indicated, this is both a difficult and sad topic, but nonetheless it's an important one. And however difficult it is, we're certainly pleased to be a part of the county team in addressing this problem. We have a very dedicated and expert team of clinical professionals and support staff who work on this program for us, and it's very satisfying to be able to recognize their work at this occasion. Thank you.
Good morning. On behalf of the families and volunteers with Child Abuse Riverside County, I'd like to thank the Board of Supervisors for this recognition and just comment on the fact that as volunteers, we recognize that there's this very, very dedicated, wonderful group of professionals that I'm happy to be on stage with. And we thank them for their efforts, and we I'd just like to encourage all of you to take just a moment this month to make a difference in the life of a child.
Well, on behalf of the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, we're certainly very proud of our collaboration within the allied law enforcement agencies that participate in this, drawing attention to this scourge every year. But we're equally proud of the multidisciplinary approach this county takes and our county partners that we work hand in glove with, not only on the suppression issues, but as Susan alluded to, the prevention issues by drawing attention. So thank you for recognition, board members, and thank all of you in the public for supporting our joint efforts on your behalf.
Thank you all. Great job, as always. All right, next is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I'm turning that over to Supervisor Buster.
Whereas sexual assault, we have some folks up here that work on this issue. Again, our hospital CEO, Tavaglione, and I'll have these ladies introduce themselves. All and some of our nurses who deal directly with this issue. So we really appreciate your being here to emphasize this. This is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2012. Whereas sexual assault is an intolerable, violent crime with public health implications for every person in Riverside County as a victim, survivor, or as a family member, significant other, neighbor, or coworker of a victim, survivor. And whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate the entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support victim survivors and their significant others, and increase support for agencies providing services to victim survivors. And whereas ending sexual assault in Riverside County must include active, public, and private efforts to speak out against sexual violence in collaboration with the Riverside County Regional Medical Center, District Attorney, and Department of Social Services. This collaboration must include a discussion of what sexual violence is, how to prevent it, and how to help survivors connect with the crucial counseling and other support services, and how every segment of our society can work together to better address sexual violence. And whereas staff and volunteers of sexual assault programs in Riverside County work year-round to encourage every person in Riverside County to speak out against sexual violence and support survivors by providing education and survivor empowerment information to schools, churches, and civic organizations. In addition, information regarding sexual assault issues must also be provided to medical, mental health, law enforcement, education, and criminal justice personnel. And whereas Riverside County has set an important example of how forging collaborative relationships between service agencies and organizations serves to improve the quality of service for those most profoundly and directly impacted by sexual violence, thus setting an important example for how the rest of the community might work together to speak out and find solutions to sexual violence. And whereas Riverside County requests public support and assistance as it continues its efforts to bring real hope for freeing Riverside County from the tragedy of sexual violence to create a future where all women, men, and children can live free from violence and exploitation. Now, therefore, the Board of Supervisors does hereby proclaim the month of April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month and proclaims April 25th as Denim Day in recognition of efforts to dispel myths and injustices regarding sexual assault in Riverside County, and commend this observance to all citizens, signed by our entire board.
Well, good morning again. I'm still Doug Bagley from Riverside County Regional Medical Center. This program is yet another great example of interdepartmental cooperation and an interdepartmental initiative Actually, I was thinking that some of the others who were just up here at the previous presentation were going to stay up here with me, but they didn't, so I guess I'll try to speak on behalf of everyone. But again, this is an initiative that involves our organization as well as the county sheriff, the district attorney, Department of Public Social Services, mental health, and from time to time other departments as well. This again is a very important public service that we provide that involves both prevention as well as treatment, and treatment includes treatment of the victims as well as the law enforcement processes. I thought it would be a good opportunity for us to introduce you to some of the individuals who work in the program, and so these nurses are some of our examiner nurses in the program. Gloria Davis, Tanya Mondio, and Bethany Thrasher, who all work in the program, so I thought it would be a good opportunity for everyone to get a little more familiar with some of the people who are actually on the front line doing the work. So on behalf of all of us, and on behalf of the departments that are involved in this, we want to thank you for this recognition, and I know we're all committed to continuing with the very strong program that we've developed.
Supervisor Benoit. We're going to Supervisor Benoit give our presentation. I had to think about that for a second. Yeah. Public Safety Telecommunications Week. Stan Sniff and John Hawkins, Chief Hawkins, our Sheriff and our Fire Chief.
Well, thank you, and I'm pleased to make a presentation on Public Safety Telecommunications Week. As a former CHP commander who had for 2 decades communications centers under his command, it's always a privilege to be involved in that. So whereas emergencies can occur at any time in Riverside County requiring law enforcement, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, oh, here they come, the stars are approaching, please come on up. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas public safety dispatchers are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas these individuals are responsible for responding to telephone calls from the general public, law enforcement, and emergency medical assistance, and for dispatching said assistance to help save the lives and property of our citizens. And whereas public safety dispatchers in Riverside County have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it resolved, determined, and ordered on this 10th day of April 2012 that the Riverside County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the week of April 8th through 14th, 2012 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, and join in honoring the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and our citizens safe. Thank you very much, and congratulations.
I'm going to share the microphone, obviously, with fire on that, but I'd like to introduce some of the great people that make a very great sheriff's department, much more ably serve our communities all across Riverside County. And in the sheriff's uniforms and one of the civilians there, we've got 911 communication officers Jackie Vasquez and Sandy Raines. Raise your hands. They're from the Riverside Dispatch Center. Communications Supervisor Casey Cassoni. Casey. No, she's back there. Our communications manager, Heather Woods, and a senior dispatcher, April Marino. And just a quick aside on it, the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, a very large agency, obviously, well over 1.5 million calls come in from the public every single year to our dispatchers, which are the very front end of that system. And that nets out to somewhere in just short of 1 million calls that patrol officers all over this county end up responding to, not only the unincorporated area, but our 17 cities. They quite literally have one of the most stressful jobs in law enforcement. It's the very front end on dealing with emergencies, big and small, that come in to the PSAP answering point on the telephone, then transferred over to the dispatch system on that. But even more critically for all the patrol officers out there for our agency and the allied agencies, because we work so closely side by side, they quite literally become the lifeline for those officers, not only funneling information on what's going on in particular circumstances best they can, but also relaying on for additional resources and assets, and almost trying to end up reading from a very large distance away what exactly is going on to help those officers do the best possible job for our communities. A very stressful job. Our agency does a great body of work all across this county at all different levels, but we simply could not do that without the great men and women of our dispatch centers, Blythe, Indio, and also here in Riverside, taking care of all 7,300 square miles. So they are an integral part, and we're very pleased to see they once again being recognized for their efforts for this year. John?
Thank you, Sheriff, very much. I would like to commend 3 of our 36 dispatchers who are here this morning, Susan, April, and Michelle at the end. Let me just add to what Sheriff Sniff said. These are the people who take the first intervention with a 911 call. In Riverside County, by and large, the sheriff takes the first call as a primary public safety answering point. Then they direct it, depending on if it's law enforcement or if it's fire. If they give it to us, it comes in like this. And I hope that you can understand how much pressure there is, because these are the first people who bring support or response to someone in need. Hello, 911, what's your emergency? My husband's on the floor, he's not breathing. How long has he been down? Maybe 15 minutes. We know right there that we're going to try, but it's probably going to be difficult. Or it comes in like this from the California Highway Patrol. 911, what's your emergency? There's 6 cars stacked up on the 215 south of the 60. Is there anyone hurt? Yes, everybody's hurt. There's bodies scattered all over the roadway. Cars are not stopping. This is what these people deal with. And they make me darn proud to be able to stand up here as a fire chief and to recognize them. Thank you very much.
Eliso Silva. Is Elisa here? Am I pronouncing that well? Close? Close. You pronounce Tavaglione? Tavaglione. Okay, we are here to celebrate our volunteers. There's a presentation of Volunteer of the Year Awards. Richard, I'm going to let you go ahead with it and then ask all the recipients to stand up next to us.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Supervisor Tavaglione, Chairman. Today, the Riverside Council of Volunteers, which was established in 1983, representing county departments, volunteers that serve our county departments. And today we're honoring 6 of them for exemplary service. But each department has so many volunteers. We have hours listed as to the service that each department receives. And this is all comes back to the county, helping to alleviate the struggles that you're facing here. And they do this tirelessly. National Volunteer Week is next week, and you recognize us with a proclamation. And with that, we're going to ask each of the volunteers, you'll have the script here, and we're going to ask their program manager or the volunteer coordinator or executive director to escort them up here. But the stars are the volunteers.
First up, Ida Brown. Ida, come on up. Community Action Partnership, Riverside County's Volunteer of the Year is Ida Brown, a manager at Riverside First Baptist Homes, Inc. in Riverside. Over several years, Ida has continuously assisted her 189 residents to apply for utility payment assistance and the weatherization program. She helps them to complete their application forms, pass them up, and personally delivers them to CAP Riverside for processing. She follows up, advocates, and answers any questions that customers may have. We're proud to nominate Ida Brown as the recipient of the Community Action Partnership Riverside County Volunteer of the Year. Riverside Volunteer.
I'm really honored to have this award or to even be mentioned for it. I am the social service coordinator at Montrubidoux Manor, and I've known Mr. Godwin now for a number of years doing the HEAP program and things like that. True, I do have almost 190 residents that I service, and this is really an honor. When you do things from your heart, you really don't think that these things happen to you. So I am really pleased and really honored to be the Volunteer of the Year. Thank you.
Okay, next. Okay, this is from what business supervisor.
Doris Mays Hayes. Doris, there she is. Good to see you, Doris. A long drive from Blythe. Thank you for being here. You bet. You bet. Doris has volunteered with the Riverside County Advisory Council on Aging since 1993 and as chair from 2007 to 2011. She has served in many subcommittees, including community engagement, healthy living, transportation, and housing. She has served 12 years on the Blythe City Council and was mayor for 4 years. Doris has an important role as the eyes, ears, and voice for older adults with disabilities, caregivers, grandparents, raising children, and elders. With this voice, she has taken on the responsibility to raise issues, recommended changes, and advocate for those changes through Riverside County. Doris is a leader in her community and an advocate for young and old. She believes that everyone has a right to live the healthiest life possible and to age with dignity. And as the new supervisor 2 years ago, I took the responsibility for Blythe, and one of the first names I was told I had to meet was Doris. Congratulations and thanks for everything you've done all the years for this community.
You know, we're all aging every day, and we live longer than we did 20 years ago when I started this program. I've outlived 3 directors of the Office on Aging. I don't know whether that's good or bad, but it's a privilege, and I greatly appreciate this honor. Thank you.
You bet.
Vicki Gustafson. Vicki, come on up. Vicki is always ready and dedicated to volunteer her time and talents in supporting a greater cause that will help those in need. She served the Riverside County Department of Public Health since 2008 as a registered nurse at our annual flu shot clinics. Vicki provides flu vaccinations for the senior population and those with chronic illnesses throughout Riverside County. Ms. Gustafson had recently retired from the county with 20 years of service with mental health and public health departments. Retirement has only made her busier. She volunteers with the UCR TB flu clinics and the Loma Veterans Hospital. She also works part-time at the Long Beach Veterans Hospital, assisting Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq veterans at the Mental Health Treatment Center. We at Riverside County Department of Public Health are honored and would like to say thank you, Vicki, for giving your energy, time, and talents.
Thank you for this honor. I'm shocked that I'm not too proud to take it.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I'd like to call up Christine Lestage. I hope I'm saying your name right. Christine has volunteered with Riverside County Mental Health since February of 2011, initially as a parent partner volunteer at the Paris Mental Health Clinic. When the Children's Services were relocated, that didn't stop her from pursuing her passion for helping other parents of children with mental health challenges. She contacted the Temecula Clinic and offered her services despite the extra time and financial hardship that this would entail. Christine has become an invaluable member of our clinic. She offers suggestions and insights based on her own experiences and knowledge gained from advocating for her son and many others. She calls parents, meets with them individually, goes out to their homes or to their schools of their children who are facing a myriad of challenges, and does so with a level of compassion, understanding, and professionalism that draws praise from parents, from the treatment staff, that have the benefit of her involvement. Christine is not only a strong advocate, but a hard worker, has the heart of gold, and most of all, a wonderful and supportive mother. Congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm honored to have been thought of for this. I really did this for my son and for all of the other parents who go without support, without resources, and without help, and they're not alone.
Okay, Laura Winchester. Laura. Come on right up here. Laura Winchester began her volunteer work at the Western Riverside County and City Animal Shelter on February 26, 2011. In the span of 1 year and 1 month, Laura has accrued over 1,343 hours. Because of her dedication and willingness to learn every aspect of shelter life and her immense love of animals, Laura was promoted to docent volunteer within the first few months of volunteering. A normal day for Laura consists of assisting our animal care technicians with many dog and cat adoptions, helping with the reunions of lost pets and their owners, and handling clerical paperwork of new volunteers. She trains new members of the Pet Life Savers Youth Club, is the lead for our Pet Life Savers. Oh, Savers. You spell that differently. Savers Youth Club on Saturdays, and transport animals in need of spay or neuter surgery from our San Jacinto facility to our Riverside shelter. Laura has been awarded the Presidential Award. This award is from the President of the United States for volunteers who serve over 1,000 hours of service. What an honor. You ought to be very, very proud. Congratulations, Laura. We very much appreciate all you do. Let me see here. Total Riverside volunteer award hours for Riverside Animal Services is 40,668. You did a good number of that. And averaging about $24.18 an hour and monetary savings to Riverside County, almost $1 million. Excellent. Good work.
I would just like to say I definitely am surprised. I will definitely accept this on honor of all of our volunteers. I can't do this alone without the Department of Animal Services, but also too, we have plenty of volunteers that deserve this more than I do, honestly.
James Kraft, please come up. Okay, assisted by Robin May. Great person herself. Okay, Riverside County Regional Medical Center is proud to recognize Mr. Jim Kraft as Volunteer of the Year. Jim volunteers his time serving in the infusion room of the hospital. He's the first volunteer assigned to that area. As a Merkel cell carcinoma cancer survivor, Jim was extremely determined to serve others struggling with cancer. The manager of the infusion room was contacted, and she explained that it was an extremely sensitive area. Didn't know if it was appropriate to have volunteers assigned there. After much debate, she agreed to let him to come for a 2-week trial. When the trial time was over, the manager called volunteer services with such emotion in her voice and said, "We just don't like Jim. We've fallen in love with him." The patients now want to book their chemotherapy on the day that Jim is there. As well as his kindness, he brings with him an incredible sense of humor. He's created games for the patients and brings donated hand-crocheted blankets for patients when they're cold. Jim states that he loves the time he spends at the hospital and says that it's an honor to be in a position to assist the nurses who work tirelessly with incredible dedication to make the patient experience the best it can possibly be. Thank you.
This is a great honor, and it's to be shared with the other hundreds of hard-working volunteers at the hospital. And it's a privilege to work with the nurses that are the hardest working, dedicated people. Thank you.
Not Paul Dellerbach, I know it's Paul Zellerbach. We'll get back to him. You're just giving a presentation in front, so you don't need to come up here? Correct. You have something against us? Is that what you're just saying?
Do you want me to go there?
No, that's okay. All right, so we can take our seats while Paul gives a presentation. Welcome. Good morning. I know you folks have a very busy agenda today, and so I won't take up too much of your time this morning. I appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation. And the presentation this morning falls right in line with April being Child Abuse Prevention Month. Some time ago, a particular project came to my attention. I'd never heard of it before. It's called the LISA project. And once I became more knowledgeable about this project and became better informed, I was pretty impressed. And that's why I'm here this morning. I initially want to go over I think you should all have a packet of materials, a black folder entitled the LISA Project. I'm going to be going through real briefly some of the materials in that this morning, touching upon some of the most important items. And then I have a few slides I want to go over with you to identify the problem or the situation as it currently exists in Riverside County. And again, this is in light of the fact that April is in fact Child Abuse Prevention Month. The first slide that I can see, and I hope everyone else can as well. These are statistics from Riverside County, right here in our own home county. In Riverside County in 2011, there were over 34,000 child abuse reports. And a lot of this information we've obtained from Riverside County Department of Public Social Services and Child Protective Services. Of those 34,000 child abuse reports that this county received last year, 6,631 were substantiated cases, meaning that abuse was actually found to have existed or have been perpetrated upon a child. And that breaks down to 18 children a day in Riverside County. Next slide, please. With respect to family violence statistics, 31.6% of our population in Riverside County is 17 years or younger. Now, it's kind of surprising. I wasn't quite aware that almost a third of our population is under 17 years of age. Last year, of the total Riverside County victim services units throughout the county served over 12,000 victims and their families. Of those over 12,600 victims that we served last year, 38% were domestic violence or child abuse related. And for those of us that have been in this business for a significant number of years, obviously we've learned over the years that domestic violence and child abuse are oftentimes very related. And again, we'll touch upon that when I talk more specifically about the LISA project itself. Next slide, please. National family violence statistics show that boys who witness domestic violence in their homes as they're growing up are twice as likely to abuse their own partners or children or both when they become adults. And both as a prosecutor and as a judge, unfortunately, I have seen that to be true all too frequently. 30 to 60% of the perpetrators of intimate partner violence also abuse their children in the home. And that's where we see the domestic violence overlap with child abuse, which breaks down to every 9 seconds in the U.S., a woman is assaulted or beaten. Next slide, please. The next few slides are pie charts that show, again, Riverside County statistics that we've obtained from Child Protective Services. For the 6 years from 2005 through 2011 in Riverside County, we found that with child fatalities, that 70% of the offenders, these are children that were killed through some criminal act, that 70% of the offenders were the parents. One parent or a combination of both parents. And that was somewhat startling as well. And this is broken down to show who the offenders actually are. But again, approximately 70% of the offenders were the parent or primary caregiver of the child. Next slide, please. Again, from 2005 through 2011 in Riverside County, we found, with respect to the age of the victim of the child in these situations, that 92% of these child fatalities, 92% of the victims were 6 years or younger of age. Again, that's somewhat of a startling statistic. And 37% of the victims were 12 months or younger. Next slide, please. And then this final chart shows us the cause of death, again, during the same time frame from 2005 to 2011. And in Riverside County, the cause of death over this period of time, 64% was through physical abuse. And it breaks it down into other types of causes of death, but predominantly it was physical abuse that caused the death of these unfortunate children. So I think what this does is it certainly demonstrates the problem and the need in Riverside County to address this issue. And that's what brings me to the LISA project. In your packet of materials, you'll have an introduction to the LISA project. And the LISA project was created in 2009, just a few years ago. And basically, it's an interactive experience. It's, I hate to say a trailer, but that's what it is. And it's mobile, and it comes from San Joaquin County where it was originated. And this huge trailer is broken down into rooms, like it's rooms of a house. And the people tour the trailer and go through each room, and it's an interactive experience that helps educate and inform the public about the continued plight of child abuse and domestic violence. We hope and expect that this project will also raise awareness of these issues in our community to everyday people. It's free to the public, and we've already had some community meetings where we've reached out to a lot of nonprofits and county agencies to assist us in this endeavor, because we're going to need a lot of volunteers to man this project and keep it open and to participate in this experience. We hope to raise awareness to people throughout the county and show them a way that they can either get help if they have this problem or it exists in their own family, or simply get involved to help another child who they might become aware of or come into contact with that needs this kind of help or assistance. Visitors walk into the exhibit, and when they initially walk in, they're given an iPod. And as they tour and go through each of the different rooms, it's like rooms of a house. They'll have a kitchen, a bedroom, a living room. And they're told the story. In each room it tells a different story. And Lisa is the one that narrates, the child Lisa is the one that narrates the story in each of the bedrooms as they go through this experience. And then once they go through all the bedrooms, at the end there's a room where they're given an opportunity to write down their thoughts about what they have just experienced. And then I think more importantly, they're given an opportunity to ask questions. And there's a counselor there. And they're allowed to fill out feedback forms or talk with a professional counselor to educate them even further or to give them further assistance.
And then what you also have in your packets is a newspaper article. The LISA project just completed its tour in San Bernardino County. And what I'm hoping to do is kind of the same thing that San Bernardino County did. They had it in 3 geographic locations throughout San Bernardino County. I intend or hope to do the same thing for Riverside County. I'd like to have it here in Riverside for a period of time, then in the Southwest County, and then the Coachella Valley. And again, we haven't picked the sites yet, and we're still working on that, but there are a lot of places that would love to have this exhibit at their facility. And oftentimes you can do it at malls, at schools, at hospitals. There's a bunch of places where that can actually occur. Okay, that's the good news, or the news that creates the need. We also have an actual, it's about a minute long, a little over a minute, from the LISA project. LISA project was created, it's a 911 call from LISA to law enforcement. And it's a true 911 call where she's calling because there's domestic violence occurring at that point in time in her home. And she's trying to get help and assistance from law enforcement. You can play the video on the tape, please. We have sound.